our best. It's Friday here on The Story, and it's the final day of a public drug use crackdown by Portland police. New numbers on how many people have been deflected towards treatment instead of jail. Plus, homeless service providers are pleading with Multnomah County leaders to save a program in Old Town that they say is critical, effective, and efficient. But first, that controversial Portland City Council vote to pull nearly $2 million from police to put towards parks instead. One of the councilors who harshly criticized that move joins me live, and it's our big story tonight. Councilor Dan Ryan, who represents North and Northeast Portland, is no stranger to the Rose City's politics. He's the only holdover from the old form of government and was not shy about how he felt about the move to put money earmarked for Portland police towards park maintenance.
This council will make a big mistake that you will regret if we go ahead and put this through. Residents and businesses will continue to leave. The tax base will continue to erode.
Councilor Ryan going one step further in a statement later on, writing, "This new council is not aligned on key priorities. We saw political micromanagement, false choice amendments, and special interest appeasement. Too many council decisions now serve national narratives and political agendas that don't reflect the reality on our streets. I won't stand by while performative politics replaces practical solutions." Okay, well, joining me live in studio tonight is Councilor Dan Ryan. Councilor Ryan, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Okay,
it's good to be here, Claire.
So let's talk about that statement, some harsh words there. I want to point out one piece you said. You said the new council is not aligned on key priorities. So what are those priorities, and why do you say that?
I say that from my experience over the last 4 years. I was sworn into office in September 2020. At that time, we all looked at each other in the eye and said, what are the top 3 priorities for the city? It was, at that time, homelessness, public safety, and economics and livability. We stayed on that course over the 4 years I was there. I didn't experience that as much this week when we had so many amendments, and we have many more to come.
So you called the move to cut $2 million from the Portland Police Bureau reckless. Now, those who voted for it argue it's just a small change. It was just money the mayor was going to give the police bureau for new hires. They already have about 91 vacant positions as is. So tell us more about why you disagree.
Yeah, I found that the statement by Chief Day earlier in the day, there was a very long meeting, it was like 15 hours. Earlier in the day, he made it really clear that this is a cut. They prioritize their recruitments and the special units that they build. It's more of a 3-year look. It's not just 1 year at a time. And so it really disrupts the leadership's ability to keep managing that build back, because we have fewer staff at the Portland Police Bureau than any city our size, and we're really understaffed, and we need to keep building that up. And so one reason we have so much overtime is because of that. It's a chronic issue. So the last council knew that we were in a long-term process of building the Bureau back. And during that time, over the last few years, I've seen morale go up. I've seen recruitment go up. There's a lot of momentum, and they're building special units again. That's why car thefts are down. We have a new special unit that's going to focus on storefront safety, because we're hearing complaints from all of our storefront owners, not just downtown, but in St. John's and Mississippi and Northeast Broadway in my district. And how are we going to implement the kind of service they deserve if we backpedal?
So we know Portlanders, one of their main things they've been calling for in this budget is no cuts to public safety. So what sort of message do you think this sends, cutting $2 million from public safety?
I think it says to those people who are working their tails off to try to make it work in Portland, it tells them that the city council is not having faith in them to continue to do that hard work. It's not keeping our contract with them that we have their backs. And so it's not just about police. Again, it's about the save our storefronts. If we're going to see our city come back, we have to have a really strong public safety system. And that begins with a very robust and sophisticated police bureau. I thought the mayor's budget really read the room well, meaning Portland as a room. I thought he focused on those top priorities, as well as the priority that he campaigned on, which is unsheltered homelessness. He worked so hard with all the city council members. He was all over the city. He's quite a relationship person. And I would have voted yes just on his entire budget. So I found that a lot of the amendments just got very micro. It was odd to be in this new form of government where we're supposed to be legislators now and doing policy. And I experienced more micro-type amendments in the management side than I did when I was a commissioner.
I wonder if just the new council is so excited to have this power to put a new amendment forward. I'm just curious, what was the motive behind it?
I don't know. I kind of had three categories on why I would lean no. One was if there was cuts to police. The other was when I thought it got too into the weeds of the Bureau. And the third is when I thought they were experiencing mission creep. We have to stay focused on our primary purpose. We're about basics, police, safety, our roads, our infrastructure, and of course our parks.
So yesterday I caught up with Council President Ilana Prittle-Guiney. She voted against pulling this money from Portland Police and putting it towards parks. And she sort of hinted, or rather said, that one of the main reasons she thinks that this vote went this way was because she doesn't think Chief Bob Day was clear enough in how this $2 million cut would impact the Bureau. He was unavailable to comment on that criticism today. A spokesperson from his office told us that he was clear. We know it was a long meeting. People were tired. It was late at night. But do you think that maybe if he was more clear on how these cuts would impact police, that this vote would have gone differently?
He was asked earlier in the day if this was a cut, and he said, yes, it is, and it will impact recruitment. That's all I needed to hear. It took a while for us to get back to the place where people wanted to sign up to be on the Portland Police Bureau again, and we really saw that turn around 2022, and I've seen that momentum since. I go to every swearing-in ceremony. I meet all these very excited new police officers who are quite diverse, both in gender and race, and their families, and they're just excited to be public servants, to put their lives on the line to protect Portlanders. And when I heard Chief Day say that early in the day, I wanted to have his back. He's a really good chief of police.
So let's talk about a different vote by council regarding the water and sewer rate hikes, a combined 6.3 rate increase. Public Works telling us the average household will be paying around $8 or $9 more per month. You were the only one to vote against that. Why?
Because we're in an economic challenge right now. My neighbors influenced me on that. People that I know in the gym, people I just know around town. And I was going to be okay with maybe a 2%, maybe 3% at the most. But once it went above that, I was a hard no.
And how would you respond to those who argue the hike is needed to maintain city water infrastructure?
I would say that there's other ways to look at that expense. We have to be in a relationship with the residents of Portland. We've had some population loss lately. We have people that are hanging in there in Portland, and we can't continue to make their fixed cost to live in Portland be higher as services go down. It's not a good equation.
All right, Councillor Dan Ryan, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think about the utility fee hikes and the move to put police money towards parks? Email us, thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, coming up next on The Story, homeless service providers in Portland's Old Town are pleading with Multnomah County leaders to save a program that leaders are proposing cutting, the work they do, and how it plays a role in cutting down 911 calls. That's when The Story returns.
I want to tell the county this is an effective and efficient program that is meeting really critical needs for the people that we serve.
Well, that's the plea from some Portland service providers to Multnomah County leadership regarding a program in Old Town that the county is proposing cutting from its upcoming budget. It's something these service providers say is helping people get off the streets and keeping downtown safer. It's the Old Town InReach Program. It started in 2022. It's a group of about 8 peer support specialists who have lived experience with homelessness and addiction. And they help 4 downtown Portland service providers during their busiest hours by connecting homeless people with treatment and other services, getting them the documents they need to apply for a job or housing. And perhaps the most valuable piece, we're told, they make it so day centers and other places homeless people gather safer. They're telling me they diffuse crises or dangers that come up, which in turn reduces 911 calls. So today I caught up with some of the service providers who have benefited from this program and who are now calling on the county to save it.
Unfortunately, we're run mainly by volunteers. We have 1 staff member at our pantry, and we served over 15,000 people last year. So when our community is in a state of crisis and they have really complex needs, our only ability to intervene is to call for emergency response or shut down services temporarily in order to keep a safe space. By having the peer supports there, we're actually able to have them focus on connecting the people that we serve with their resources while we get to focus on food. And in the first 9 months of this year, they intervened in almost 450 incidents that could have resulted in temporary closures or calling 911.
This program is a really quiet force that keeps the peace, and I think it helps people in a really significant way who are really experiencing a lot of trauma, and it helps agencies, and it helps local businesses, and it helps neighborhoods.
This is a really special type of program because everybody wins. It takes a little bit of the burden off of staff who work in social services or in community mental health, and getting a little bit of extra support and being able to do it in a much more cost-effective way.
Okay, so while this work sounds great and promising, you may be thinking to yourself, hold up, these nonprofit service providers get money from the county to do this exact work, right? Why do these nonprofits need peer support specialists to come in and refer people to shelter or connect them with treatment, etc.? Why can't the nonprofit staffers do that? Isn't that what they're here for? Well, I asked the director of Rosehaven that very question, and here's what she said.
Yeah, most of the people involved in this program aren't receiving any, if not very little, county funding. So this was a great show of support for agencies like ours that are basically pretty independently funded. And we are doing a lot of this, and we're drinking out of a fire hose right now. And so we can't possibly meet and the demand that we're seeing every day. And so it really supports that.
Now, this is video of one of the program's peer support specialists talking with a homeless woman named Rachel. She was getting services at Rosehaven in Northwest this morning. Now, Rachel has built a connection with her, something she tells me has been hard for her to find while living on the streets the past few years.
That woman and the group that she's a part of keep us alive, not just alive physically, but alive inside.
So the Old Town InReach program is run by the Mental Health and Addiction Association of Oregon, but Multnomah County pays for it. Last year, the county budgeted roughly $1 million of supportive housing services tax money for this program. But this year, due to massive budget shortfalls, the county chair has proposed cutting the program. In the budget document, it says elimination of the Old Town InReach program was unavoidable.
That's devastating. That can't happen. No, this group is the most important thing for houseless women, especially, who experience way more danger than people who identify as men on the streets. No, we absolutely can't let that happen.
Honestly, my program manager was on the verge of tears. Our volunteers are extremely anxious.
The spokesperson for Multnomah County sent us the following statement, saying in part, quote, "The chair's office and departments have placed a high priority on keeping all current shelter beds open, which means other types of programs are facing reductions. The health department plans to mitigate the impacts of the elimination through first responder agencies and mobile crisis service providers responding to incidents at shelters." Meanwhile, Multnomah County Commissioner Shannon Singleton, who is an advocate for service providers, told me today that she asked the Homeless Services Department to send an outcome data for the Old Town InReach team and the navigation teams. The data will help her know which programs she will introduce an amendment for and at what level of funding. Again, none of these decisions are final just yet, so the program could still have a chance. Over the next 3 weeks, Multnomah County commissioners will be hearing from the community on proposed reductions. And if you want to make your voice heard, the next public hearing is Wednesday at 6 p.m. The county commission will vote on a final budget June 12th. And today, at a meeting with the city over their joint response to homelessness, Multnomah County leaders said they're underwater when it comes to actually solving the crisis. They say they're meeting their goals under the Homelessness Response Action Plan to get people into shelter and housing, but more people are becoming homeless every month compared to those they're able to help.
Inflow, people newly becoming homeless or returning to homelessness from housing, is outpacing outflow. In other words, folks who are housed or otherwise left services for long periods of time. Next slide. So that means, again, from the Homeless Services dashboard, the number of people known to be experiencing homelessness has grown over time.
They're also trying to get more people from shelter into housing. Now, the goal seems modest at 41%, but they're not even close. In fact, they're doing a little worse than before they came up with the action plan. And every quarter, the number gets lower.
For the full period that we've reported on this measure under HRAP, we've seen quarter-over-quarter decreases in this measure, such that in the 12 months that ended in March of 2025, only 19% of people exiting adult shelter were recorded as exiting to housing.
Now, Ryan Dybert says, he's the deputy director of the Homelessness Response System, that the data is probably not reliable. He says it's based on people self-reporting where they go after they leave shelter, and that most people report that they don't know where they're going to go. Now, reading between the lines, that sure seems like those people are heading back to the streets. The Homelessness Response Action Plan, or the HRAP as they call it, came out last year to set some goals under the city-county partnership. The county says they're on track. They say they've sheltered or housed 14,668 people, which is nearly 80% of the way to their goal by the end of the year. Although, as you heard, a good number of those people are going into shelter, but not housing afterwards. But they say 83% of people placed in permanent supportive housing stayed housed 2 years later, surpassing their goal of 75%. And they're continuing to operate 3,200 shelter beds. But city councilors today said they want to see a lot more done, especially in light of how much is being spent.
I think I'm having an existential moment that just the astounding amount of money that's being spent here. And with the trend line going down, and I guess I'm just really struggling with that, the cost per homeless person. And I'm really interested in reworking the goals and seeing how we can be more effective, because it's astounding. And I don't think that in the long run, we're going to be able to afford this. It means that we're going to start eating other programs. And that's really bothering me.
County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson says Multnomah County is getting less supportive housing services tax money than Washington and Clackamas counties when compared to the number of homeless people in each county. And the county's homelessness team says there isn't enough affordable housing to send people to, which is something we hear time and time again.
And what's very clear is that when the cost of housing increases and the rate of change of that increases, we see an increase in the rate of homelessness.
We have a greed problem. And I'm not talking about developers here or most landlords, but I am talking about a few of them. I'm talking about the people who rent a place out for $1,400, then $1,500 and $1,600 when it gets renewed. And then the tenant moves out and the next time it's listed at $2,500. The people who don't negotiate on back rent, as the slides indicated, or the people who build into their projections that they're going to hold on to the security deposit no matter what happens. People who skimp on the maintenance or only do the landlord special. Again, this isn't all landlords or even the majority of them, but the few that are doing this are making it harder for everybody else.
So other counselors said they want to see more workforce development programs for homeless people so they can eventually get higher paying jobs to be able to afford the rent. And Councillor Eric Zimmerman wants to see the state invest in a local behavioral and mental health hospital in the Portland area. After both the city and the county pass their budgets next month, they say they want to work on developing an actual system for tackling homelessness, rather than the piecemeal approach they're taking now. What a novel idea this many years in. And we will be watching. Keep it right here. We're back after this. Well, the Justice Department has reached a deal with Boeing to avoid prosecuting the plane maker over the 737 MAX crashes that killed 346 people. The company must now invest more than $1 billion into its safety program and pay victims' families $445 million. Some of the families are outraged.
We don't want money. We want accountability. We want to know who was responsible for these crashes.
Back in 2021, Boeing reached a settlement that shielded it from prosecution for 3 years. That settlement was set to expire just 2 days after a door panel blew out of a 737 MAX 9 over Portland last year. Boeing has not yet commented on the deal. Well, back here at home, the union representing about 800 workers across Portland city government has reached a tentative agreement with the city to avoid a strike. Union members voted yesterday to authorize a strike, but after 11 hours of mediation, the two sides agreed to terms and called it off. Neither side has released details of the agreement yet. The union represents workers in almost every area of city government. Well, today marked day 5 of a Portland police crackdown targeting public drug use all across town. Monday, they focused on the Pearl District. Tuesday, Couch Park. Wednesday was Old Town. And Thursday was the Central East Side. And today, PPB as well as state police troopers were in Goose Hollow in the area around Providence Park. Now, the idea was to steer people towards deflection, that's treatment over jail, when possible. Now, the timing of this very visual mission amid this week's budget votes, coincidence? Who's to say? John Adams is in the newsroom tonight with some of the results from the mission. John.
Hey Blair, today police told me that between Monday and Thursday this week in those neighborhoods you mentioned, 58 people were referred to deflection. 56 others were arrested on outstanding warrants and therefore not eligible for deflection. We did see police making arrests outside the Plaid Pantry store on Southwest Jefferson, a known drug hotspot. I also spoke with a few people working in convenience stores around Providence Park along West Burnside who told me the police presence today was a welcome sight.
We get a lot of shoplifters come in. You know, there's been quite a bit of drug activity outside.
We get some theft every day, every single day. And it's not just theft, it's also violent. We have to constantly carry tasers around and a baseball bat. We just want a nice, clean city where people come buy stuff and there's no screaming, no yelling, no threatening of violence.
Police also telling us this week that over the course of this mission, they've seized guns, drugs, cash, and stolen merchandise. And the focus on drug users since Monday follows a months-long effort targeting drug dealers. PPB says over the past 10 months, they've arrested 50 alleged drug dealers, and all 50 are still in custody. Blair?
All right, well, let's hope some of those arrests and deflections can really make a difference. John Adams in the newsroom tonight. John, thank you. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air the episode at 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on our TV app, KGW+. You can also catch us the following morning at 11:30, and you can download that free app right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Now, even though Monday is the Memorial holiday, we still have a show for you. So have a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here Monday night at 6:30.